everyone, if you're new here, I'm Aude, a writer and filmmaker. I have published novels and short stories over the years in French and English. Today, I'm going to show you how I became a teen writer. Every year in France, September is one of the most important literary months, as a good chunk of books, especially novels, are published in that month. And every year there is at least one French or based in France teenage writer whose first novels is published by a major publishing house. And usually they have a significant budget for the promo. They do press, they do TV, they do online content. And when I was a teenager, I was already writing. I had already a couple of years of experience since I started so young at 7. And as I became a teenager, becoming 13, 14 years old, at first, I used to hope that one day I would be one of them. I, after all, was still young. The majority of them were slightly older than me. But then, I got older too, and these kids ended up being my age. And then I kept being older, that's the perks of life, and they ended up being younger than me. And still, the promise of being published in September was not fulfilled. These kids are heralded as literary geniuses. So many of them, unfortunately, didn't really go on to have successful careers as writers. And almost all of them are middle class and have the connections needed to publish their books without sending them by post. I would later learn that less than 5% of the books sent by post to publishing companies end up published in France. The majority of books are commissioned by publishing companies. The publishing world is not a fair one, and the ones who make it tend to be those who network and know people. Had I known that earlier? At that time, I was working on my first novel. I put that first novel aside because it wasn't getting any success, and I started focusing on the second one that had started earlier. This one was messier, more raw. I wasn't imitating my favorite writer, but writing as me, Aude. I decided to use new tools, such as blogs, to promote it, blurring the frontier between what was real and what was pure imagination. But this one, unfortunately, didn't have much success. I had always wanted to sign my first book deal before turning 18. 18 was a cut-off age. Everything I wanted to accomplish, all the milestones in my literary career had to be done before that. Or else, how would people know what I was capable of as a writer? I was about to turn 18 and I still hadn't found a publishing company. I couldn't give up. Back then, I'd already written for 10 years. What else was I meant to do with my life? I had won multiple literary contests and it was good to have all these achievements, but I wanted more. I saw an ad for another contest and decided to apply for it. I sent a short story of mine I loved, inspired by the Little Rock 9 students in segregated America that I wrote at 15. I won the contest before turning 18. The prize was a big deal, a little bit of money, and a publication in a short stories anthology among other writers. The year came to an end as another one was born from its ashes. I turned 18 and signed my first book deal. I was relieved but disappointed. It was a big deal, but not the one I had expected. A published short story is nice, but it doesn't elevate your career the way a published novel does. Still, I decided to make the best out of it. The publishing company wasn't thinking much about promo, so I contacted a bunch of media companies online and I started doing my own promo. I went on TV, on the radio, and did a couple of interviews in newspapers. I created my website, and my friends even made a Facebook group for me. I put my first 2 novels in a folder on my laptop and switched my focus to screenwriting, a newfound passion of mine. It was much more collaborative than novel writing, and at least you could see the end result on screen, unlike novels. I wrote my first web series and wrote it with a production company that commissioned me and the director assigned me to. We were all teenagers and the process was hectic and as fun as you can imagine. It took a couple of years and eventually, after me chasing up the production company and everyone involved, we did the first episode. It was definitely an adventure. One of the actresses bailed out on the day of a shoot. She was meant to do sex scene. I had to ask one of my friends to replace her. She had no experience. And gave her a wig I had bought a couple of days before. I decided to pursue screenwriting, but acting was something I gladly retired at the old age of 21. It wasn't for me. I am a writer first and foremost. My teen years were coming to an end. Obviously, I would never stop writing. But I couldn't be a teen writer forever. There is a time limit for everyone. Who would want constant scrutiny from everyone? Who would want to deal with the pressure of supporting your family, your friends, and the people working with you? And who would want to deal with the constant anxiety of creating work, writing novels that always have to sell more than the last, be of a higher quality than the one before? It was too much. Writing was my lifeline. It was what I had dedicated myself to all these years. I had been a teen writer, not as successful as some, but I had been able to create stories, to promote my work, to impact people, which was something unheard of for myself or people who came from where I come from when I started. That and much more was worth being proud of. I had made it, although making it is not always what we have in mind. What I didn't know was that a couple of years later, after being in my 20s, I would finally publish my first novel, which would suddenly put me in a position of becoming the writer I've always wanted to be, and for people to be able to read my stories on a much larger scale. So, if you are a teen writer out there, stay strong because it is not easy. And keep on writing, really. It's really tough juggling school and writing. I used to write really late at night after everyone was asleep, or write during the weekends, or write on a piece of paper, take a picture of it, and then eventually type it on computers. I would also write on my phone. Try to also enjoy your life.